welcome to the Cougar Cast here at the Kokomo Post Sports. I'm your host, Jay Stevens, and this is the place to get all the information on what's going on inside the athletic department at IU Kokomo. And joining us once again for today's show is Grant Patterson. He is the SID at IUK. And Grant, you're back in town after a trip out of the state with the volleyball team.
Yeah, it was another awesome experience to travel with volleyball out to Sioux City for a second consecutive year as they made a second consecutive Sweet 16 appearance to close their season. Obviously didn't end the way they would like. Still looking to advance out of pool play for the first time in program history, but you ran into circumstances in an Eastern Oregon squad that it was just meant to be. It was their day. But incredible effort once again by Coach Heather Hayes' squad out there. Watching the Midland Eastern Oregon match on day one of pool play, it's not easy to get out there on Monday, sit for 2 days, and then play Thursday, Friday. So you practice Tuesday on the Tyson Event Center floor, and then you go to the studio, hang out, and all that, the arcade, I should say, and have fun team bonding experience. And then Wednesday, everybody else is playing but the 2 seed, so 8 teams are not playing, and you've got to practice, and it's still another day, which some teams may like that, some teams may not. And so we were used to it. We had that last year as well. Went out there and played really well against Midland, won in 4 sets. I don't think either coach expected us to be up 2-0 on Midland. They're that good of a team. They're Elite 8. I think they'd been to the Elite 8 3 straight seasons. Wow. So before this year, and they had a bit of a down year, but they have one of the best coaches in the nation, have a lot of talent. It just happens to be younger and underclassmen are very talented. So yeah, take care of Midland in 4 after dropping the 3rd set, come back and win the 4th. 4 very tight sets, I would say, for the most part. And then Eastern Oregon, like I said, won't mention the circumstances, but there were certain circumstances of death in the Eastern Oregon family that propelled them to victory. Yeah. It was just meant to be. We've all kind of, our thoughts and condolences are with Eastern Oregon and that student athlete and her family. But yeah, it was tough to hear that after the match. I didn't know about it until after the match, but to see how well they played, it was unreal. I really thought they were a pencil in for the national championship match. They ended up losing in the quarterfinal. But when you're playing for something bigger than yourself and a teammate and their family, that was just what Eastern Oregon did. They were seemingly an unstoppable force in that Friday pool play matchup.
Heather Hayes' squad this year, 33-6 was their record. They won 85% of their games. That's a huge accomplishment, and I have not really been following volleyball at any level until the past couple of years, until I came here. And then I heard for the first time when I met Heather, she's like, oh, do you know how successful we have been? And she's not bragging. She's just kind of helping me understand the success that she's had. And it was been to the national tournament this many times in a row and one conference this many times. And I'm thinking, I'm in the presence of greatness. I didn't know that she was that successful. And even going to the national tournament last year and doing it once again this year, 30 wins once again. Like, there's so many great things going on with this program. And it all starts with Heather Hayes and her expertise, her ability to tap into the athletes and get the best out of them every single night. That showed up all throughout the year. And I know they didn't win the national championship.
Correct.
But from my standpoint, Grant, this was a successful season.
Yeah, another very successful season. Heather Hayes not only leads the volleyball program, but leads our athletic department. Everything you see from her on the court is the way she manages our department. It's great to work underneath her. She's got a talented assistant coach in Lori Ellison, as well as Audrey Talley helping out for the first time this year. So all of them with Randy Fishman, director of operations. Between the 3 of them, add in Audrey and make it 4. That is one of the most talented staffs I would say in the NAI, if you ask me, with depending on, that is especially on each of their circumstances. Like, Randy's one of the best director of ops in the NAI. Lori's one of the best at what she does. Heather's clearly one of the best at what she does, considering that was our 4th trip out to Sioux City in the last 6 years, 5th overall in program history. We've only been in athletic department for 14 years now, and she's in year 12 here, so she's essentially a lifer to IUK, and IUK means more to her than anything else in her life.
One thing that we saw from women, not just last week from the volleyball team, but also Lisa Pfluger's squad is on a 2-game winning streak. They beat Grace last week, and they also beat IU Southeast. Both matches, it's basketball. Both games, they scored over 75 points. 75 points in the win over Grace, 77 points in the win over IU Southeast. And this team, early in the year, is having some success.
Yeah. I think that's a great way to put it, Jay, is having some success early in the year. Don't remember the win total from last year, but I know Lisa improved it from the year before, as she was the interim coach last year for at least a majority of the season, I should say. So, yeah, to see them have that have that win streak start to build here. You call it a streak when you get to 3, but we've won 2 straight. And back at 500 play, began River State's conference play 1-0. I think it's been a while. I need to do my SID due diligence and look that up. When the last time is women's basketball won the River State's conference opener? I believe it's the first time in 3 years, and maybe even 4. But yeah, to go on the road and take out an IU Southeast squad that, they're down a bit this year, but they returned some players that have played key roles for them in the past. And Ledgerwood, she's been dominant throughout her career, and plenty of other talented athletes. So to go on the road and get a pair of wins last week at Grace Christian in Michigan early in the week, pick up a confidence-building non-conference win where everybody's able to contribute in a big way. Lexi Diorio was a standout. I know she had 21 on the road at Grace Christian. I'm pretty sure Chloe McLean led the way with 21 on Saturday at IU Southeast. So one thing I might add while we're touching on it is, did you happen to see that both the men's and women's basketball scores were the exact same score?
No, I actually wrote it down, didn't put 2 and 2 together. Yeah,
so very odd. Logan from IU Southeast and I, their SID, and I shared a laugh over how often is it in these men's and women's doubleheaders do you get 77-64 in both games, no matter who won.
Yeah.
Obviously, IU Southeast won the men's game. But yeah, great start to the River State's conference season. Coach Lisa Pfluger and company, she has a big coaching staff that helps her out. Credit to them for getting these Cougars on a roll.
You mentioned that the men lost that match on the road. I keep saying match. That game on the road at IU Southeast. They have a chance to bounce back this week with the match on Friday. One of these times today, I won't say match. I know volleyball's over. They have a chance this Friday in a game against East-West to get back in the win column. Yeah,
be back at home for the first time in a couple weeks against an East-West squad that we handled pretty easily last year. East-West is a university that isn't affiliated with NAI or any NCAA affiliation, but they travel around and play a lot of Division I programs, give them a non-conference matchup, sort of a conference builder, if you will. I know they played at Indiana Wesleyan Monday earlier in the week. So yeah, and East-West from Chicago will come pay us a visit Friday. And that way this week we have both men's and women's basketball on their home floor. So a chance to see the Cougars back here in Kokomo.
So I know last year I went to the game when East-West came here. Do they normally come to Kokomo when they play?
Yes, they do not have a home gym. They strictly play all away games.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever heard of that before.
It's different, Jay. Yeah. I'll advise you and everyone listening to this to look up East-West. It's definitely different. It kind of gives you the vibe of like a Bishop Sycamore, if you will, like in the football. But they do exist, and they have an uber amount of talented athletes. But yeah, they fit into they will play the same type of style that Coach Eric Eckelbarger plays. They don't lean on defense as much as Eric Eckelbarger's squads do, but up and down the floor, run and gun type of thing. So yeah, it should be a fast-paced, high-level game Friday night. It should be an enjoyable one.
This show, as I'm looking at my notes here, is going to be full of success that the women have had, from volleyball to women's basketball to Maddie Dotlich in the first indoor track and field meet of the season, I think was last week.
Yeah.
And Maddie Dotlich has already punched her ticket to compete in the indoor national meet.
Yeah, how about that? She did it twice last year. She punched her ticket to NAI Indoor Nationals. I was able to go out and watch her at Outdoor Nationals down the road to Indiana Wesleyan. Well, she's starting off on the right foot this year. She's already punched her ticket through one meet with the B standard in the race walk. I believe she finished 3rd or 4th in the race walk at Indiana Tech. So obviously that means multiple student athletes punched their tickets. Yeah, that is going to be held this year in Gainesville, Florida. It's going to be a much better trip than South Dakota. Last year it was in Brookings, South Dakota. The indoor nationals are. Now they're in Gainesville, Florida. You might as well have them outdoors if you're going to Gainesville, right, Jay? But yeah, so congrats to Maddie Dotlich. Multiple successes, school records being broken and stuff on the opening weekend. One in each men and women. So big time start.
There are also some other school records that were broken, I believe, on the men's and women's side in that meet. There were some personal bests from numerous athletes. I don't want to pick any. Who would you like to highlight?
I know Jamari McClinton had a school record in the 60 meters, I believe. Can't remember if it was the 60-meter hurdles or 60 meters. It may have very well been the 60-meter hurdles, but he's a Kokomo kid, Kokomo grad, so I love seeing that. We talk about that on this show all the time. So big props to the fellow Wildcat with a K. And then Lily Green, another Howard County product. I believe she's an Eastern High School product, set a program record in the high jump, if that's right.
You're correct.
Yeah, high jump for Lily Green. 2 Howard County products shining at the next level for Indiana University Kokomo. You know, it's great to see these athletes staying home and competing for their hometown university at such a high level.
The marathon. We got the opportunity to talk to all six athletes that ran at the marathon in Sacramento. All six of them completed. I can't talk today, guys. I don't know what's going on. The weather's going back and forth. It's messing up my brain. The words coming out. I'm not sure.
It may be me. I told Jay I was feeling a bit airhead-like today.
Yeah, you can take the blame for that. I will appreciate it. But all six of them did finish the race, which is huge. Like, you're running a marathon. I don't care if it's in your backyard or in California. You're running a marathon, 26.2 miles. You completed it. I don't care about your time. You just finished. Cross the start line, cross the finish line. Hats off to you. Congratulations. All six, I don't know who you like to highlight, if anybody, but I mean, they completed it. That's all I got to say.
I think I very well could just say enough said. What else needs to be said other than they ran 26.2 miles in conjunction with the California International Marathon? I mean, that's big within itself. It's awesome that the NAI puts this on. So for those that aren't quite understanding, this is moving from an emerging sport to a sport with national championship status. So this isn't technically a national championship, but it unofficially is.
Yeah.
It's titled the NAI Marathon Classic, and as I mentioned, ran in conjunction with the CIM in Sacramento. They run from Folsom Dam, or nearby at least, to Sacramento. At least that's what I'm gathering from the details I've found with other SID's articles in the NAI, just gathering more insight. But to qualify for that, I know it was 49 men, 46 women. So just an incredible feat. They only take the top 50, which obviously this year I think there were 100 total between the men and women. So something must have happened there at the end. But to be able to compete at a high level, the NAI has done a great job of creating this into another event that used to just be ran at NAI Outdoor Nationals as a singular event. It's now in the emerging sport category, and then eventually it'll be a national championship.
I'm here for it. I'm here for it. I do have to ask, I haven't talked to Colvin about this. Was there anything crazy with people getting things stolen on this trip?
I've been in the office each of the last 2 days since we got back from Sioux City, and I haven't heard anything. I was obviously with our athletic director and Heather Hayes in Iowa.
Yeah.
We never heard anything from Josh like we did last year about their cars being broken into while they were at the Golden Gate Bridge or Alcatraz, I believe it was.
Alcatraz.
So yeah, none of that to report this year, Jay.
Good. I'm glad. Luis talked about that when he was here on the show, and I didn't think he was going to talk about it, but he just kind of dumped it out there, and I was like, all right, like, if you want to open that can, go right ahead.
Yeah.
Did we miss anything?
Not that I know of. I will say it has been a very busy time in IU Kokomo athletics recently with indoor track and field starting up last Friday. They'll get into a bit of a swing. They'll compete again this weekend at Indiana University's early bird meet. So a little D1 competition, but it just shows where you stack up early on in the year. Men's and women's basketball are at a crucial point. They only play one River States Conference game before 2025 begins, so they'll be back in action January 4th. I can't remember who we host. I believe it may be Rio Grande, but we do host men's and women's basketball River States Conference doubleheader January 4th. Other than that, baseball gets going as soon as we return to the new semester. Baseball will begin. I know their first game is a January date this year.
Wow.
So yeah, baseball is here before you know it. Volleyball just wrapped up. Volleyball is a fall sport, but I mean, we're only 2 weeks left in the semester, and volleyball just ended last week. So it takes up a lot of time, but man, esports was uber successful last week. Forgot to mention that. Nick Leahy and company, they led to, I believe both of their Overwatch squads won a conference title. So yeah.
Whoa, so we hadn't talked to Nick at all. I know we're a little bit longer than normal, but I didn't realize the team was so large that they had two teams for one game. Yeah,
so Overwatch kind of moved to the crimson and white mold, varsity and JV. So I believe from the way I understood it, I know I have some emails to catch up on from Nick. I've got a lot of emails to catch up on in general, but I believe they won both the crimson and white titles in Overwatch this past week.
I'm here for it. I like that. Congratulations, Nick Leahy's team there. Congratulations, everybody.
2 straight years to begin your career as an esports head coach, and you've got 3 titles now to speak of, 1 in each year at least, at minimum.
I don't normally clap on the show, but I think it deserves a hand clap. I saw Gabe back there, who's not on the screen. Maybe one day he'll be on the screen, but hats off to him. Hats off to everybody. Heather Hayes, the squad, another successful season. Hopefully, I'm rooting for them to win the national championship very, very soon.
It's going to happen here in the next 5 to 6, 7, 8 years. I'm very hopeful. I believe next year, if I was confident this year would be the year. Ran into an Eastern Oregon squad on a crazy day.
Yeah.
I think next year will be the year we make it out of pool play, and who knows what happens after you make it out of pool play and you're in the Final Eight.
I'm here for it. Love the success of the volleyball team. Love the success of all the Cougars, and I love having Grant on the show. He is the SID at IUK, does a great job with his new role. Honestly, he's doing a phenomenal job. Like, I can't really say you're doing anything bad from what I know about the job. But this has been the Cougar Cast. I'm done rambling. Guys, we'll see you next time.